Now, this week, President Biden announced that he will cancel billions of dollars in student loan debt. That was met with mixed reaction across some party lines. Now, the cost estimates vary. Several estimates put it in the cost of hundreds of billions of dollars. The president argues, though, it needs to be done to provide financial relief to struggling Americans. Take a listen.
I think it's a good thing. It frees a lot of people up. It's going to grow the economy. We still have a way to go, but I'm optimistic.
Well, Republicans say that the loan forgiveness plan is politically motivated, and then they say it comes at a time when the economy is struggling. Let's continue this conversation with our political panel this morning. Charles Lane, good to have him back here at the desk. He's an opinion columnist with the Washington Post. And Grace Panetta, we welcome you in. She is a senior political reporter with Business Insider. Good to see both of you. Charles, cut through the reality of this for us, because we hear the Republicans telling us that student loan forgiveness is going to cause massively more problems for our economy than it already has. And the Democrats are saying, well, wait a minute, if you put more people in these people's pocketbooks, they're going to be able to go out in the economy and spend this. Who's right?
Well, you know, I think what's revealing about this is that it's not only Republicans who are criticizing the extent of this measure at a time of high inflation. We've had Jason Furman, who was President Obama's chief economic advisor, emerge as one of the top critics, also Larry Summers. We know that Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, was privately opposed to this. So I think the president has taken a risk with respect to the economic impact this will have. I think probably the best view is that it's a minor impact on inflation as such. The bigger concern might be the distributional fairness of it, that a lot of people who are upper middle class will end up benefiting. And that's why you saw Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, a Democrat, say it wasn't a well-targeted measure.
And Grace, there's a political element to this as well, because whether you believe what the White House is saying about this or believe what the conservatives are saying about it, the fact remains the calendar says we've got a midterm election coming up in November. So did this have more to do with freeing up funds for the people who had held these loans, or was it about checking a box when voters go to the polls in November and saying, Biden promised this 2 years ago, he delivered a version of it?
I think the timing is because of several different factors. This was a campaign promise on the trail, and the clock was sort of running out. The administration didn't have many options to keep kicking this down the road after they repeatedly extended the pause on payments. But one thing I think is important to note about the timing is that this relief will not be automatic for most people. They will have to fill out a form and apply for it, and may not get that relief until after the midterm. So the impact that this will have politically depends a lot on the rollout and the implementation of this relief.
You know, it was interesting with the White House this week in defending this. They took an unusual step for them, especially on their Twitter feed. They actually started retweeting the amount of student loans that some of their opponents had forgiven. Is this a new way they're going to go about now debating these things in the social media?
Well, trolling your opponents, yeah. Well, I think what they were also doing was talking about PPP loans they had forgiven, which really is a bit of an apples and oranges comparison. But sure, it showed that they understood how hot this issue is going to be, and they were sort of primed and ready to go back on the counteroffensive. Obviously,
while that was going on, we also had some more developments now this week in the raid on former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago mansion. A version of the affidavit released, although it was heavily redacted. Grace, Trump had said that he wanted this released. A lot of the media organizations said they wanted it released. There were some pages of this, and I read through it, that was basically nothing but black lines, except for a couple of words. What did we learn out of this?
So first of all, it's incredibly unusual for an affidavit to be released at this stage of an investigation, but the judge bought the arguments from media organizations that it was in the public interest. And we learned a few key things. One is just the sheer number of boxes and documents with classification markings, which of course undercut the president's defense that he had declassified many of these documents already. It showed that the FBI believed it would find evidence of multiple crimes, including obstruction on the premises, and revealed that the DOJ is indeed relying on witness cooperation in this case. So a lot of really interesting tidbits, despite all the redactions.
But Charles, I once watched a former Marine general convicted of violating the Secrets Act that he had pledged to uphold. How serious is this? And are the people who are scoffing this off as saying, oh, it's just a couple of file boxes, what's the big deal? Are they missing the point about the seriousness of the nature of the allegations here?
I have to say, and I hate giving this answer, it depends.
Yeah.
Certain things that are marked confidential are maybe just kind of run-of-the-mill. Top secret stuff that includes maybe code word material or the names of foreign agents that we have, a lot different story. And that's why I think this revelation of the redacted affidavit ratchets things up a bit, but there's still a possibility that it will fizzle if it turns out the information wasn't that sensitive.
What do we make of what seems to be not a full throttle, loud rush to support by Republicans behind the president on this one? Because it seems, while initially the raid got a lot of attention, as more and more and more has continued to dribble out about this, voices on the Hill on the Republican side have gotten a lot quieter.
Yes, the timing is very convenient for them with August recess currently going on, but it is quite telling how in the immediate aftermath of the raid, we saw so many Republicans decrying it as politically motivated and unfair. But now that we have more information coming out that is undermining a lot of Trump's own defenses, it's a lot quieter from the Hill, and it'll be very interesting to see what Republicans have to say when they come back from recess.
As we head into this fall, and we will be in just a couple of weeks, as we look at these midterm elections, you know, about 6 months ago, a lot of people had some foregone conclusions that the Republicans were rolling towards a big November. Have the Democrats done enough over the course of the summer? And has the effect of Roe v. Wade being overturned, Charles, change this dynamic at all, where it's not just a foregone conclusion that the Republicans are going to roll in here in November and take everything that they want?
This is potentially a really unusual midterm election in which the usual situation is public opinion as it is in June tends to hold through November. We have seen this summer a clear shift in the polls, clearly related to the shock that a lot of women got around the country by the overturning of Roe versus Wade. They've registered to vote in larger numbers. They turned out in Kansas. And there's a real morale boost to the Democratic base that's going on right now. Whether they can still hold the House or not is another question. But Kevin McCarthy is only telling his donors to look for 15 net pickup, and that's far fewer than they used to be looking at.
And Mitch McConnell has had some recent comments as well, too, that the Senate, you know, might not be a sure thing for the Republicans as well. Grace, Charles, we thank you so much for joining us live here in studio this Sunday. We're going to have you back real soon.
Thank you, Tom.